Kids asked for burgers, but I couldn't just make burgers. I had to go full dad mode and turn it into the best smoked cheeseburger slice.
Did I make you start that time?
I'm using Beirut mustard.
God fucking damn it. Would you fucking get off this shit? Think about this. It's 2012. It's raining outside. Hard. You hear it knocking on the roof of your house. You feel the low rumble of scattered wind. It's 11 p.m. and you're on your iPod Touch with your wired earbuds in. Obama was just re-elected president. Tumblr and YouTube are basically the whole internet. And your friends play Minecraft every day when you get home from school. Well, the current brainrot is the dumb wasted eye song. You're watching the Jaffa Factory series by the Yogscast, and you actually watch the whole thing through. Do you ever do that nowadays? Your parents are screaming and fighting downstairs, but you turn up the audio. Sound familiar? Well, you had a fucked up childhood. Well, not really, but maybe. You grew up on the internet, or rather, the internet raised you. With a roughly middle-class upbringing, a lot of the time things were bad. But sometimes they were good enough to ask your parents to buy you a $10 copy of Minecraft, or maybe to get you an iPad mini for Christmas. But thinking back, it was kind of, I don't know, like, great. Like, sure, maybe you were already chronically depressed and you couldn't fall asleep every night because of the existential dread you had by the age of 11. But, like, at least you didn't have to pay rent, right? Did you know that only 47% of Gen Z consider themselves to be thriving? At least when you were there lying in bed, you weren't worried about the government wanting to kill you or austerity accelerating into a total economic collapse. You weren't really worrying about anything that was real, anything in your control. Ah, what a privilege that was. Or wasn't. But now that's not the case. In 2025, the Trump regime is in power. Each day we are bombarded with a new way the government is targeting minorities, a new mass shooting.
There were 6 mass shootings in 24 hours, 2 in North Carolina, 2 in Louisiana, 1 in Texas, the terrible scenes out of Michigan. But fear not, because the president is on the case.
Hundreds more dead and injured in Palestine.
Israeli strikes on the Gaza Strip killed at least 38 Palestinians and injured another 190 over the past 24 hours. 29 Palestinians since dawn, 11 of them civilians seeking food, including 2 children. Killed at least 30 Palestinians since dawn. Israel's killed at least 50 Palestinians over the past day in Gaza.
And trans people, specifically trans women and girls like myself, are being targeted. Propagandized to be monsters, to be the enemy.
They want to have transgender for everybody? These people are crazy.
Our rights are being trampled and taken away through policy. Directly and straightforwardly transphobic and genocidal policy. No one is coming to save us. And no one is coming to save you. Gen Z is 3 times as likely, 18% as opposed to 5%, as Americans over 25 to say their challenges are so severe that they thought they might be better off dead. Who could blame us for wanting our minds to escape? To regress back to the times when we didn't have to worry about the real, right? I mean, by watching this very video, you are trying to escape. And I'm not even trying to give you any advice, or better your life, or anything. If anything, I'm only aiding and abetting your escapism, serving as yet another ephemeral distraction. So, if I'm not here to give you advice, am I wasting your time? Or are you wasting your time? Which one of us has the onus? Is there even such a thing as wasting your time? Isn't that just a capitalist lie, told to get the proletariat to work hard for their bosses, and never demand something as communistic and absurd as, I don't know, like paid vacation time? God, that's a lot. So then, I suppose, you and I. Let's escape. Before we get into it, let's define escapism. It goes a little bit like this. Let's say you had a really bad day at work. Your boss was getting on your nerves. The customers were too, complaining about everything, even though you did everything right. You know, escapism would be going home, gooning to some femboy moaning ASMR for a few hours, maybe more, falling asleep, and then going back to work the next day as if nothing happened the day before. Just a disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with gooning. Keep it up, Goon.
I definitely felt something.
More generally, I see escapism as the process of self-distraction, using various means to temporarily occupy your mind with thoughts other than the subject that you are consciously or subconsciously avoiding thinking about. I use the word temporarily because in almost all cases, it will only be a temporary distraction until either you are re-bombarded with the unpleasant realities which you face, or you die. No, not really, but, I mean, kind of. Anyways, we'll come back to the idea of avoiding unpleasant realities. We even engage in escapism together, such as LARPing, game playing, but even more so, nowadays, in 2025, we doom scroll together. We send TikToks to each other, and Reels.
Wash my belly. Yay.
How fun. I truly believe that we, as a society, have reached a state of post-escapism, where not only are we encouraged and feel inclined to both engage and not engage in our escapisms by various forces, but we even escape from our own escapism. Brainrot videos on Instagram Reels or TikToks are a great example of that. You are completely interrupted rapidly with unrelated memes and concepts and random shit that you saw 20 years ago on the internet. Actually, you're probably not old enough for that, but it's besides the point. And even the non-brain rot content we are consuming increasingly distracts us from its own consumption. Think goon corners.
Remember when we were all at school?
Subway surfer corners. Random other shit. Like the intro. Would a politics corner be just as bad? Merely a distraction from a distraction? What about an atrocity corner? So, yeah, let's just get started. You know, let's do a fucking tier list. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's get started.
First, we have listening to music. That's pretty good. So I think it goes in the meh category when it comes to escapism. Making music, I would say it's actually productive. I've done it myself. Pretty good, pretty good. Drawing or painting, that's another productive one. Debating online. Making memes. Meh. Going outside. I think that's a good one. Yeah, I like going outside. It makes you feel better and stuff. Hanging out with friends. That's another one. Yeah. Playing video games. Watching YouTube videos. Streaming. It can be, I mean, if you're like making money, building an audience, like, yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Politics.
I would put that in the false hope category. Going fishing. Of course. That's like the best one on here. What the fuck? Traveling. You're just rich. Arts and crafts. Productive, I guess. Social media content creation. I would say it's false hope because you're never going to be famous on social media. It's going to just be a money sink. Extreme sports. Either kind of sad because you just kind of want to die, or you're just rich. So, I'm just gonna put that in the middle. No you don't. Playing sports. You don't play sports. Snow sports. You're rich. You're rich. Golfing, same thing. You're rich. Tabletop games. I'll just put that in the meh. No offense to those that are tabletop game players. Cosplay. It can be productive, but I would say it's more like false hope again, because you're never going to be good at cosplay. Hiking. I'm gonna put that in productive. Hiking is cool. Working out. I think for the most part it's productive. On the other hand, it's like false hope, like that one Matan clip.
Begins like that sometimes.
I wish I could put it in the middle, but I'll put it in productive. Gardening. That's productive. I fucks with gardening. Daydreaming. Watching porn. Partying. You don't go outside, do you? You don't have sex. Gambling. Kind of sad. You're just kind of draining your bank account. Psychedelics. I feel like you think that you're going to get something out of it, but you're not. You're just gonna be fake deep for a while. Doing drugs. Kind of self-explanatory. Drinking alcohol. Productive doom scrolling. What do you guys think? Comment down below. So is that it? Should we just keep searching, making tier lists until we're distracted enough to feel safe in our own heads? I feel like we're all constantly searching for this one thing, this magic bullet that will make everything feel better for now and forever. But I don't think we'll ever find it. Because I don't think we'll ever really figure out what we're searching for. Why we want to escape. What we're escaping from. Am I even one to talk? I mean, I watch Democracy Now! Every morning, and I usually fall asleep listening to books about nuclear war. I mean, seriously, what's more relaxing than hearing
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report.
I'm Amy Goodman. Like, yeah, the last month, every night. I've fucking listened to the same audiobook like 4 times now. That and nuclear war movies, like, I don't know, for some reason it's just very relaxing. I suppose it brings me comfort. Maybe it's counterintuitive, but as most members of Gen Z could probably attest, it really isn't. We are all so nothing ever happens pilled that at least nuclear holocaust would be something that happens. That's pretty dark. But even when things are happening, even with America cocaine-backed genocide, austerity, the violent deportation of legal migrants, and the plundering of trans rights that we fought so hard for, how the hell did we get to a place where something bad happening is preferable to the mundanity of everyday life under a post-capitalist system? Analysis. In my opinion, most of our desire for escape comes from one thing and its consequences. Alienation. No, not that kink where you, like, get an alien dildo and lay eggs inside of yourself. Not that. Maybe another time, but... No, the theory by Marx. Just me? Alright, whatever. So, Marx's theory of alienation, which came about in his 1844 work, what was that shit called? Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts, Estranged Labor. Marx's theory of alienation has 4 main tenets, as defined and laid out in his 1844 work, Estranged Labor. 1. Alienation from labor. Under capitalism, especially post-capital techno-fascism, which we are living in right now, at least in America,
including 12 premature babies, are trapped in the hospital.
Hey, babe, my day's just starting to wake up.
The startup is called Friend, and it's an Apple-like AI pendant that's always listening.
I don't know how to woo very good. That's fair.
The worker, the citizen, or the unemployed cat girl Instagram meme page owners, labor is external to the self. With the exploitative nature of labor under capitalism, the worker, quote, feels at home when he is not working, and when he is working, he does not feel at home. I'm gonna use the word he because that's how it's written, but obviously it could mean any gender. Anyway, you work because you need to. You must pay rent, you must buy food, you must buy everything that's sold to you, because you have been trained to associate spending money on material goods with pleasure, with a dopamine release. In part, due to that mindless scroll that your brain loves oh so much, that mindless escapism. Gen Zers are completely disconnected from whatever work they do, for the most part, whatever they are forced to do, and, quote, as a result, the worker only feels himself freely active in his animal functions. Meow. Eating, drinking, procreating, or at most, yeah, the meow was part of the quote. Marx wrote that. You know, him and Engels were getting up to some freaky shit. Anyways, what are they saying? Eating, drinking, procreating, or at most in his dwelling, in dressing up, etc. And in his human functions, he no longer feels himself to be anything but an animal. What is animal becomes human, and what is human becomes animal. In a way, Marx lays out a theory of not only the cause of distractive behavior, of escapism, but directly references some of the ways we do escape. Eating, drinking, procreating, dress up. Sounds a bit like the tier list from earlier, right? Like a horse, whipped countless times and driven to exhaustion, to run in an open grassy field. Well, that's like heaven. That's an escape from the unfortunate reality. But in the process, does embracing this animalistic tendency of escapism make us less human? Well, under capitalism, I would argue no. These activities, these distractions, these escapisms are pretty much the most human reaction that you could have. To be a drone, as in a worker bee, not a quadcopter that kills children, you must not engage in escapisms. You must scroll for 25 hours a day and somehow find time for work and for sleep. And you must not escape this cycle, even mentally. 2. Self-estrangement. This scrolling, in some ways, is real labor now. Escapism, in some forms, is real labor now. Each second is monetized and analyzed algorithmically to extract the highest amount of labor value possible. Either way, quote, labor is activity as suffering, strength as weakness, begetting as emasculating, the worker's own physical and mental energy his personal life, for what is life but activity, as an activity which is turned against him, independent of him, and not belonging to him. Not only does your labor not belong to you under capitalism, under techno-fascism, your escapism doesn't belong to you either.
So basically like a ChatGPT that's on your neck, always listening to you and everyone else around you, and provides snarky comments.
But it's already brighter knowing you're here. Just chilling in my little black dress, thinking about sneaking a cuddle with Domus later. How's your day going? Spill it. I'm all ears.
So this is the founder, post on Twitter, largest NYC subway campaign ever.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
So you feel this, and I feel this, we all feel this, but it goes unacknowledged. The only escape you have only serves to further estrange yourself from your own humanity. This extends beyond just scrolling. It extends as far as gender. As a trans woman, this alienation sometimes makes me feel, bought and sold. When it comes to my gender identity, should I get the striped socks on Amazon? Is my escapism, my embracing of my identity as a way to feel human, also a trick? What about buying hormones manufactured by those massive pharma companies? Has that also been corrupted through capitalism? Well, even if it has been corrupted, the source of escapism, the desire to escape, and the desires of gender identity are separate from the processes that wish to buy them and sell them. So no matter how many skater skirts one is inclined to buy pre-HRT, while it tries to rob this human aspect from you, I don't think it can rob your spirit and desire from you. 3. Alienation from the body, spirit, and nature. Alienation under capitalism also isolates oneself from their own body, their own spirit, and nature. Marx outlines this alienation through the production of objects, so-called working on inorganic nature, or the creation of physical, or more metaphorically, non-physical objects through labor. This creation makes man into a so-called Gattungswesen, or species being, the social, creative, and productive desiring machine we think ourselves to be. However, through this process of alienation, from labor and otherwise, under capitalism, man also becomes alienated from his species being. The consciousness which man has of his species is thus transformed by estrangement in such a way that species life becomes for him a means. In other words, our own species being, our desiring production, is hijacked by some capitalist system that is used against us to exploit ourselves. In the same way passion is monetized in post-capitalism. Oh, you're a chef? Why not make TikTok cooking videos? You're an expert in XYZ field? Start a podcast. Damn, you give great head. Our desire to be creative, to use our brains, is in turn hijacked by modern escapism. We yearn to be creative. We yearn to produce. We yearn to feel something. And we yearn for the minds, to the extent that, because we can only yearn and not actually do those things, we are contented with watching others do those things, or with merely mocking the real activity. I've made a lot of reels, many of them being really cringe, thirst trappy, or brainless. Some of them are political. In the content form, are these political videos merely escapism, mocking myself, or distracting me from real work? Perhaps they serve a purpose of radicalization, or community, or whatever value you may derive. Those cute or cringy reels have had an effect. I've had countless people in my DMs telling me they feel inspired, or they want to care less about what others think, to pursue their passions, their goals, their transitions. Am I de-alienating these people? Perhaps my form of video actually unescaped them and created realizations that brought them towards their own species being, their own desiring production, their true form? Who can say? 4th and finally, we experience alienation from each other. Quote, an immediate consequence of the fact that man is estranged from the product of his labor, when from life activity, from his species being, is the estrangement of man from man. When man confronts himself, he confronts the other man. We see this everywhere. May it be the manosphere isolating men from women, making them angry towards women for supposedly robbing them of what exactly? Forced sex? I still don't really understand that. But anyways, We see it in isolation from one another. The oh-so-prevalent loneliness epidemic, which many blame on social media and COVID, and a variety of other things, should be blamed on its root cause, alienation. And this alienation has real consequences on Gen Z. More than half of Zoomers know someone battling depression. 1 in 4 have someone close to them dealing with drug addiction. 1 in 5 know someone who has died by suicide. What do you expect from a hopeless generation? A generation scammed by the American dream. The meritocratic principle of work hard and you'll get ahead. When they have worked hard and only see themselves falling behind, with no government, no community to catch them as they fall. Who can blame them for parasocialism, connecting emotionally with popular strangers online in one-sided relationships? Who can blame them for wanting to escape? But isn't this exactly the method of techno-fascism? To divide us and point us towards a manufactured enemy? To scroll and forget, work the next day, scroll more and forget.
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would
Hollywood agencies are apparently after this new hot star, Tilly Norwood. But the thing with Tilly, some would say it's the biggest thing, is that she is not a real person. She's AI.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Many of the ads are getting vandalized just like this. Go make real friends. This is surveillance.
I've never blown anybody else. I mean, besides her.
And forget. Scroll until we simply have negative hope, to desire destruction, but not to actually obtain this destruction, this revolution. So then, what can we actually take away from this video? The several minutes of precious time on this earth that you have spent watching so far, and the several hours that I spent making it? Maybe just self-consciousness? Something that has really helped me when I've been especially depressed and hopeless, and just want to escape through any means necessary, has simply been awareness that I am using negative means to cope with negative situations. A natural reaction, but an unhealthy one. My fiance tells me that drinking and doing drugs won't help the problem. I agree. Not all forms of escapism are that bad. Having someone I trust, I suppose, is a good way of escaping my escapism. Obviously, that's not a magic bullet solution. Many of the people watching this video are probably single, have no prospects or desire to date. So, like I said before, I'm not here to give you advice or to influence you in one direction or another, because the problems that we're facing as a society, as a generation, the problems that make you want to engage in escapism are much larger than can be talked in a video essay. But for argument's sake, let's ask the question. What can society do about escapism? Following that line of questioning, you could fall into one or two camps, or switch between them, depending how your BPD is feeling that day. You could either be pro-escapism or anti-escapism. On one hand, you could go, sit in your room, all day, doomscrolling, argue in the Instagram comments all night, cry yourself to sleep while snorting horse tranquilizers to silence the last twinkling brain cell in your mind until you find peace. That is until you wake up. I'm not trying to be mean. I completely respect it, to be honest. If this is you, I would encourage you to find peace in other, healthier ways. It has been me in the past, not so distant past. But I can't really blame you for considering the current economic and political state of the world.
Dude, like, oh my god, like, can we talk about, like, the political and economic state of the world right now?
Or you could do nothing short of joining a revolutionary communist armed militia, demanding your human rights back, bettering yourself, having a healthy relationship with your brain and your traumas. Even though you're still suffering economic, social, and political hardship, at least you have your comrades alongside yourself, and you can survive together. Perfectly respectable also. But that's just a scenario. In real life, most of us end up in the gray zone in between. Too afraid to stand up for our own dignity, but not so resigned to bed rotting that we simply quit everything, don't talk to anyone, and become a human consumption machine. So why argue about it anyways? Shouldn't everyone be free to do what they want? And do it even if they don't want to? Like they're forced to? Because there's no alternative? Not to go all 8th grade English class on you, but one thing that always stuck with me that was never actually covered in class because it was probably too controversial, was a quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. Quote, "I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice." This absence of tension, isn't this what we've been talking about this entire video? Isn't that the point of escapism? But here we see the consequences of such inaction. The so-called escapist is in danger of becoming, quote, "the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress." Honestly, when taking this quote not only as a social commentary, but a personal one, it's even a bit uncomfortable for myself, a white person, surely not a moderate, but to use this quote as someone who has engaged in distracting myself from the issues that we face as a society, as well as the issues that I face personally, I almost feel like a fraud, a counter-revolutionary. But I don't know if in good faith I would make such a steady assertion. Just because you engage in escapism sometimes doesn't make you a counter-revolutionary. I mean, everyone seeks comfort in one extent or another, and many, including myself, have good reasons to do so, be it physical, mental, social, traumatic differences that are soothed when distracted, even if temporarily. Or is that cope? In a way, most of America, and the rest of the Western world for that matter, have embraced this white moderatism in 2025, but through a new method, through escapism. We are all doomer-pilled. We don't see the future, so that's what we do. We escape. And perhaps the biggest symptom of escapism that we've all been doomed to accept is reform, and to doubt revolt. With the doom of postmodern technocratic capitalism, the flux of these two concepts in the mind of the public flows towards revolt, but the true action of the escapist, the doomscroller, the LARPer, is one of reform, a continuous negative peace, which will only serve to doom them further and further. The juxtaposition between how people act and how people feel during wartime can be jarring. I mean, how could you party while your country is being invaded? How could you do bumpy-anas in the bathroom with your cat girlfriend while there's a genocide going on? Or rather, how couldn't you? The human brain isn't equipped to think about every conflict, every problem it's facing. So we compartmentalize. A little consideration here, thoughts and prayers there, a donation every once in a while, but the conflicts continue. And they sure seem far away, even when they're not. I remember at one point, people on Twitter were posting videos of young, rich, pretty women in Ukraine partying, living in excess and luxury while the war was going on not so far away.
A summer's evening, a sidewalk cafe, smiling friends. It could be anywhere, except it's not anywhere. Kharkiv is not far from the Russian border and within easy reach of missiles and airstrikes.
These Western or American white male posters were saying, "Look how evil the women are. How could they do this? Don't they know a war is going on?" Not only is this deeply rooted in misogyny, but it also completely lacks any understanding of the subjective reality of how it feels to be in an oppressed class, or in a nation facing invasion. Since Trump took office, I've gone out a few times. I've distracted myself. I've escaped. And I didn't give it a second thought until afterwards. And I think it's okay. But this compartmentalization should be confronted in an albeit mature and not a misogynistic, get your tighty-whities in a twist because you can't get laid kind of way. Another piece of media that's always kind of stuck with me throughout the years, since I saw it randomly on my YouTube homepage, is that one 2006 episode of Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, his show No Reservations in Beirut. For those of you who don't know, Anthony Bourdain was part of the holy trinity of quirked up white boys with swag that are now dead. You know, Anthony Bourdain, David Lynch.
This morning I'm thinking about Mazzy Star and the song Fade Into You.
David Bowie. He was also a chef and a documentarian who reviewed food across the world, whose show, Parts Unknown, I watched every morning before school in 5th grade on CNN. Yeah, I was a loser. Anyways, pertinently, he committed suicide in 2018 in a French hotel room while filming an episode Reportedly, he was dealing with severe loneliness. His somewhat well-known and well-praised Beirut episode took place during the 2006 Lebanon War. Let it be noted, at the same time, Israel was killing Palestinians in Gaza. Sound familiar? Where Hezbollah soldiers got into a gunfight with Israeli occupiers on its border and took hostages to use as leverage for a prisoner exchange. Soon after, there was a full-on ground invasion of southern Lebanon by the IOF, with volleys of rocket attacks against Lebanese cities, including Beirut. Bourdain arrived during this soon after and filmed his experience in the city, interviewing locals, tasting the local cuisine, checking out the party scene. One part stuck in my head since I saw the documentary, though.
That we'll all pay for this. And I thought he was being pretty gloomy and pessimistic about it. I couldn't imagine that scenario would be what would happen. I just couldn't imagine that they'll destroy the country and that we'll all pay for this. And he was right. The generation with enough money to go out to clubs liked to say that they partied through the whole Civil War, that it wasn't cool to go to bomb shelters, not to worry, there's generators, you know, all the nightclubs have generators. I guess it's a kind of a graveyard humor.
The party went on. He wrote in his journal in 2017, quote, "This was a city where nothing made any damn sense at all, in the best possible way. A country with no president for over a year, ruled by a power-sharing coalition of oligarchs and Hezbollah, with neighbor problems as serious as anyone could have. A history so awful and tragic that one assumed the various factions would be at their throats for the next century. Yet you could also go to a seaside fish restaurant and see people happily eating with their families and smoking shisha. People who in any other place would be shooting at each other."
What do you do in Beirut when an army's massing your border? The Israelis are calling up the reserves, they're lobbing bombs across the border at Chode? You party. Let's go. Certainly that night, the party did continue. We went to Sky Bar and met a lot of young Beirutis, all of whom seemed to have either British or West Coast accents. It's like South Beach, felt like. And they were, well, not exactly, you know, dancing up a storm. There were a lot of people, you know, drinking vodka and Red Bull, even while Israeli jets flew low overhead.
In a way, every member of an oppressed or attacked group is like this. Sure, our neighbors want to kill us, but we'd rather die before we can stop doing bumpianas and kissing each other. We'd rather die before our escapism does. I make music to escape. I made a whole album about escapism. Stream Substantia now. Side note, it's not only about escapism, it's about a lot of things, and you can define your own meaning. Anyways, I used to play a lot of video games. I've probably logged over 10,000 hours in Minecraft since 2009. So many hours that, if I ever made the news, they would designate me as an extreme gamer and impose a new anti-Minecraft McCarthyism against the radical Bloxists. I've drank to escape sadness, done and other substances too. When Trump won, I recorded an album, not directly because of it, but it helped me escape. When the government redefined the sexes to exclude trans women, which they kind of failed at.
But I'm not so careful with what I say. I said, well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
But anyways, I had 4 beers that night. Shout out to Sapporo. When Charlie Kirk was shot and the immediate backlash was falsely scapegoating trans women, I wanted to K-hole. Really bad, but I didn't. Most of the time, yes, those things are only going to make me feel worse the next day. Because in the back of my mind...
So what inspired the hook, "In the back of my mind you died," is kind of like the storytelling aspect of the lyrics that came before. She died in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died. And
I didn't even cry, not a single tear. I've seen people on...
I know I still haven't done anything to improve the material conditions, which made me want to engage in those behaviors in the first place. I've only pushed them off, temporarily. As a society, we are more depressed than ever, more anxious than ever, more hot and transsexual than ever, ayo, and more escapist than ever. We become more distracted, disenchanted, and disenfranchised with each passing day and each corporate merger. So, what must we, Gen Z, and all the rest do? What will you do? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Will you keep escaping your problems? Our problem? At least make it a healthier form of escapism and realize and accept what it is you are doing. Be aware of what you're escaping from. Maybe even do something. Do anything. Because if none of us do, I swear to God, I'm getting drunk and doom scrolling tonight. Escapism isn't the problem. It's the symptom. But it is the opium of the people in 2025. And like the world's oil supply, places to build new Dollar Generals, or your dad going to the store to get some milk, it will run out one day. And on that day, there is no escape.
Dude, like, oh my God, like, can we talk about, like, yeah, right now?